All right, welcome. We are back on ArcGIS, this time to explore your river species. And I thought it would be helpful to make this tutorial for this first section of your project, where you're sort of laying out the geography of your river. So we're going to start in ArcGIS, of course. You see that I'm starting at the map tab, and you also see that I saved already. I saved it as River Project Part 1. The other thing that I did was I chose a base map of imagery. We're going to add some things with labels, so having the labels of imagery hybrid isn't ideal, and there might be some other base maps that could be good, but I think what's really nice about the imagery is that you can see sort of the natural color of the earth. And so we can look in some of these water features and really appreciate. You see how they change across scale based on what time of the day, but really appreciate their effect on the natural landscape at these enormous scales. And you can see obviously the rich rainforests of Central Africa or the highlands of the Himalayas, uh, etc. So that's enough about that. Let's start adding some data. So the first thing we're going to do is go to our layers tab, of course, and I'm going to add a layer. I'm going to go to ArcGIS Online, and then I'm going to type in global hydrology. And the first one that comes up is from the Worldwide Fund for Nature. If I go, remember here to information, I can learn and eventually cite this data set. And the best thing is to explore it. So let's do that. You can see that when we added the layer, nothing showed up. And you might be thinking, what's going on, right? I'm used to seeing something pop up when you add that. And you can see, and this is the case for most layers we're going to add here today, we're going to be doing a lot of organization and symbolizing. You can see that this one has the I crossed out, which means we can't see anything there. And then you might say, hold on, you just turned off the visibility. Why can I see it now? And that's because that this layer is made up of three different layers, right? One with rivers, one with lakes and reservoirs, and others with basins and subbasins, which is the equivalent of watersheds. But you can see that those visibilities are also cut off. So we're going to start by looking at the basins and subbasins. So let's turn the visibility on. And again, oh my gosh, it is invisible. Let's go one more time, and we see the individual layers that make up this group of basins and subbasins or watersheds or whatever you'd like to call it. So the first one I'm going to make visible is called the level 3. These are the largest basins. These are probably the watersheds that you're most familiar with. So if we head over to the United States, you see the enormous Mississippi River Basin, which of course goes north into Canada, Minnesota, and south, emptying into the Gulf of Mexico. And as I'm sure your teachers have sort of described, a watershed is this sort of fascinating unit that details if you dropped a drop of water anywhere on land on Earth, where would that drop of water flow to, right? And so at the largest level, if you're anywhere within here and you drop a plastic water bottle full of water, you let all that water out, it will eventually find its way to the Gulf of Mexico in southern Louisiana. But it's important to note that these are all at different scales. So here you have sort of the largest scale. Obviously, this is the Amazon River watershed. But again, these are the largest watershed. These watersheds are also made up of smaller watersheds with that same definition I just gave. So let's look at this level instead, and you can see. Oh, can I move this up? Yeah, I can. Okay. You can see. This is a smaller, but they fit exactly within these larger ones. So these smaller watersheds are nested within larger ones. Okay. Sort of neat. And these are also reflect, so this is the Mississippi River. It's the largest river here. These might be for instance, smaller rivers like the Ohio or Tennessee River, etc., the Missouri River, the Colorado River, that feed into the Mississippi River. I'm not actually sure now that I say that the Colorado River feeds into the Mississippi. I don't think so. I think I'm just thinking about the Missouri. But I digress. Right now, I'm only going to keep on the largest river basins. Okay. So now I have my watersheds. All right. And what I want to do, because you guys are going to really focus in on particular watershed, one particular watershed is I want everything but my watershed to be covered because I want to have a really good idea of the landscape within my watershed. So I'm going to go and I'm going to click on, you might recall we called it activate this layer. This is why we see the blue line over here. And I'm going to go over here to styles, right? This should look familiar, okay? And I'm going to add a field. You're going to see that it's not that important, but it's going to be uh, I'm going to style it based on the field of Hibis ID. All of these different watersheds have a different ID. I'm going to click on unique symbols, but that's not really exactly what I'm going to do. What I am going to do is click on every single one of these. Right now, they're all different colors. I think if I zoom out, you'll see 10 of different colors and the rest are gray. Yeah, I don't want that. And I'm going to move to my other category. So now if I zoom back, everything is going to be gray. But I'm going to click on the Mississippi watershed. And I see the ID is 703047060. And I'm going to go down to find that. 7030, obviously it's an order. 47060. There we go. Click here. And I'm going to move to this group where it's called an untitled group for now. And immediately you can see it's identified this one and made it green. Instead of making it green, I'm going to change the symbol so that it's a no color fill. All right. And now I have successfully, I'm going to press done and done. I've successfully sort of outlined this area as the Mississippi watershed. I'm actually going to go back to styles. I'm going to go back to this window. I'm going to click back on here and I'm going to make an outline color that's a little bit more prominent just because I really want to delineate it. And there we go. Now it looks a little bit crisper. Okay. Oops. Something I should note is that many of these layers are, you might recall the term scale dependent. So if I zoom in really too much, I don't see the layer anymore. So we're going to want to keep it at a layer where keep it at a scale where we're seeing this. Okay. So here's the Mississippi watershed. Obviously, the next question is, where are the rivers? Let's add them. Okay, so I'm going to turn the visibility off for rivers, and I'm going to make sure I show major rivers. Now, there's a world in which you want to show all rivers. If we unclick that, you might see a few more, but for now, I just want major rivers shown. I'm sorry, there we go. And to be honest, these don't look exactly like the rivers that we're used to, right? These we're used to in maps rather. They're just sort of squiggly, thin black lines, and I don't necessarily want that. So I'm going to highlight or I'm going to activate this layer, and I'm going to do something sort of similar. Here I'm going to add a field, and I'm going to put my name there. It's going to be, give me again types unique symbols. If I click on the Mississippi River, oops, that's giving me the basin. I want though let me try to zoom in. Oops. Having a hard time zooming in with this, but let's figure it out anyway. Hold on, there should be a way. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna turn this one off. And now I think I should get, maybe I'm still wrong. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go about this a different way. If I click on show table, I'll see all of the rivers and I'll see their names. And so if I sort down, I should be able to find eventually the or S. Make sure that it's there we go. Mississippi. There are a few different legs, it looks like, of the Mississippi that it's got. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter so that I only see rivers named Mississippi, of which, of course, there's one. I'm going to go over here to name, and I'm going to type in Mississippi, as we all like. Up, there we go. There's the Mississippi River. How exciting. We're going to press save. We're going to go back to our styles. Because we're only showing one river, we can sort of go with that. And actually, instead of types, I'm just going to go with location. I'm going to click on my symbol style. I'm going to make this a basic line. I'm going to make it a brightish blue. I'm going to make it a little bit thicker. Okay. And you can change that. Actually, that's a little looks a little too thick right there. It's a little too messy. We're gonna go with, there we go. And now we have the Mississippi River. Perfect. I want to add a label to the Mississippi River. So again, I'm going to keep this highlighted. And while this is highlighted, I can click labels and I'm going to enable labels. I'm going to add the label class of name and uh, there we go. It says Mississippi. I'm going to edit the layer style. Maybe I'll make this a little bit larger. Takes a little while sometimes to. Yep, there we go. You can see it's showing across a couple different areas. I can turn it off so it doesn't repeat the label, but usually when I zoom in, it can readjust in some areas. Um, but I'll leave it there. So we have the Mississippi River. Uh, and if I wanted to modify some elements of this visual, I could. Perfect. So now we have these watersheds and we have the Mississippi River outlined, and you can see this huge area that all eventually spills into the Mississippi. So now, let me go back to my next thing I want to do is go back to add, browse layers. I'm going to put in living atlas, and I'm going to put cities. And there's USA major cities. I think if I went to ArcGIS Online to chose cities, um, or if I typed in world cities, for instance, let's go with this one because uh, many of you, I think all of you are doing cities outside the United States. And I press add, you can see this layer with all the cities of the world proportionate to their population. Okay, which is why you're seeing, of course, New York City, Toronto, LA, relatively large. And conversely, when you go over here, we're seeing, though they look like they're kind of small cities, even though they're not, of course, New Orleans, Chicago, Memphis, etc. I want to add labels to that too. So I'm going to go back to my layers tab. I'm going to click activate my world cities tab. I'm going to go to the labels, add a label class. City name is there. If I want to make this a little bit larger, I can do that. Maybe I don't want it as large as the river, but there we go. Perfect. All right, so now I have my cities. If I wanted to change the symbols, maybe I didn't like this like sort of cartoonish red, I can certainly do that too. I just have to go to style options, and instead of the basic point, maybe I'll go to the shapes and click on a star as a kind of classic uh, one um, for cities. You might want to make this one a little bit smaller for a lot of reasons. It looks like this purple is kind of fading out, so maybe we pick a brighter purple. Okay, done. Um, and I also can go to my effects. Maybe I'll add a drop shadow again, just to really accentuate where the cities are. Okay. I'm noticing that I have these numbers still here from the global hydrology basins data. So I'm going to go ahead and change that. I'm going to expand this, go over here. Remember, I'm still showing these, but I just want to turn this labeling off. So now I'm just looking at the watershed, and of course, all the other watersheds are grayed out, and we have the river and the town and the cities over here. So, second, sorry about that. Baby stuff. Okay, so we have the river over here, and we have our cities. The next thing we want to add, and this may not be relevant to you, but we want to add a countries layer. If I go over here and go to, I go to Living Atlas and I type in countries, should see something. World countries will pop up. Now, this is going to look harder in the United States because it takes up the most of the continent. But we obviously don't want this blocking everything. But if you're operating in a different place in the world, you might want at least the borders. So I'm going to change the fill here to no color, and I'm going to make the outline. I actually kind of like this orange. Let's make this a little bit more burnt orange though. And I think that that does a nice job. And of course, I could label this too. I go to labels, add a label class, country name. Where did the United States come up? Did it come up yet? Country name. Oh, there we go, United States. Maybe that we decide gets a little bit larger. Okay. And so we have Mississippi, United States, these population centers, mm, all labeled. Okay, so the last thing I'll show you is that, of course, well, first, we probably should get in the habit of saving all of this, right? Remember, your story maps will save on their own, but your ArcGIS maps will not save. So it's important to uh, save accordingly. To add other layers, because through the project you'll want to do that. So I'm going to go here to ArcGIS and I'll type in global soils. And you see here global soil units by region. And so this is showing throughout the entire world different soil types. And so if you're interested in exploring what soil, oops, is within your watershed, we can hide it below the global hydrology site so that we only see, let's see, you know, I'm actually realizing now that this is a little more transparent, or maybe it's okay, it's transparent when the base is imagery, but over here it doesn't look that good. So if you wanted to change that for what it's worth, you can just make this 100. It's not fucking. Let's go over here actually. 0. What's happening? This one can go to 0, and this one to go to 0. And then maybe if I go, oh, there you go. Now you can't see any more of it. You can only see the soils over here. So there's some manipulation that you might want to do with a soil layer. This might not also be the only soil layer. Um, so, you know, you guys will sort of poke through. You know how to do that well enough now to look for reasonable, useful layers. Let's go with soil types. There's another one that's good. USA. I mean, this is just for the US, but I think they have similar ones for the entire world. And so here, I'm not sure where we're looking. It looks like that would be right, like somewhere in the Midwest. I think you have to be pretty zoomed in for this one. Um, yeah, this will draw in a second. Different soils. It takes a really long time. It's a really big file. Um, it's a load. So they're different soil layers that you might add. Um, of course, if you note, for instance, that there part of your project is going to be identifying threats to your specific watershed. So let's say I know that a big threat to the Mississippi watershed is cropland. So there's like a lot of nitrogen that flows into the Mississippi. So if I type in crop, um, maybe I can find one. Let's see. USA cropland. There you go. This is actually a really cool data set where I think if I mix, this is for 2001, but if I wanted to just do more recent, this will identify, wait, will it show up on my legend? I think so. Yeah, what crops are grown where. And sorry, I might want to move this underneath everything. Right, so if I wanted to talk about how there are different threats from agricultural uses on the river, this would be a nice way to illustrate this, right? Showing all the different crops that are grown along the Mississippi in this way. And then, of course, go to the legend and you can see. Obviously, we have the population here, the countries here, the hydrology here, and the legend for the croplands here. Okay. So I think that that's all the layers that I wanted to go through. Let me double check real quick. Make sure I am right, and I am. Um, we're gonna save it one more time. And I want to note that when we go to our story map app, there's a tendency to just like throw the map on there and call it a day. And just with a little bit of work, a little bit of finesse, you can put the map on in a little bit more compelling of a manner. So. Let's say this is my story map. Let me show one example of this. So let's say I wanted to go on the sidecar. I'm going to start with the floating one, and I'm gonna add my map. Here's my river project one. Remember, the river project one will show up. All the layers will be here. Excuse me. I'm gonna opt not to have my cropland up first, okay? And what I want to do in this first view is show the entire watershed. So I'm gonna write over here, and then I can sort of write right there. Um, Edit this a little bit so that it's a little bit more to the east. Save it over here. I'm going to write this is the Mississippi, oops, Mississippi River watershed. And then I could write something a little bit more. And then I'm going to add actually another one, but I'm going to add the same map. And this is going to have like a really cool effect. And we go over here. Again, I'm going to turn the cropland layer off. But I want to zoom into the mouth of the Mississippi River. Give me one sec. So over here, Lake Itasca is the source of the Mississippi River. Let me find it. It's in northern Minnesota, where Lake Itasca. Let me just see if it's roughly where. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's around here somewhere. Oh, it's covered by the okay, it's this area. Okay, this is Lake Itasca. It's covered by the line at the time. But let's say I zoom in over here, and maybe this is actually a kind of neat thing to do. And I'm gonna say, let's see. What does that say? Hmm, it just takes a second. There we go. I'm gonna save it over here. And then I'm gonna add one more and go to map and again go to river project. And this time I'm gonna turn off the cropland layer and I'm gonna press oops I'm gonna actually press this one. Well, I'm gonna go to edit and I'm gonna zoom into the Mississippi River Delta. Okay. And then I'm gonna do this over here because now this, in this case, the world countries data set I don't think is doing a huge service. So I'm gonna save it over here. And so then I'll write, here is the Mississippi, um, Delta. I guess the whole thing is really the Mississippi Delta. Um, or so maybe I should say inside here is where the Mississippi empties into the Gulf. Okay, we can put over here of Mexico slash America. Go with that. Okay. And then we have three different scenes here, right? And so if we go over here to preview and we say yes, continue, you'll have many other things written up here, but you'll start with here's the Mississippi River. Someone can appreciate everything here, all the towns and cities, etc. And then we zoom in. I forgot to add a little thing that said here's the source of the Mississippi, and then I zoom in a little bit more. Now going to the delta where the Mississippi River empties. I'm going to exit from this preview. Now, of course, that's one way to show it. You could just add a map, and maybe that's what you want to do for your own. I shouldn't say just, but you want to showcase it in some sort of clear, focused manner. And so you press save. Remember, I think that you might as well make these the whole big thing. If you do this over here, go to your settings. I'm sorry, that's not your settings. Go go to edit and click this cog, and you might want to add the legend. You can choose to keep it open if you'd like and press save. And so in this caption, you might write about this, but these are just different ways that you can showcase the map in your story map. All right. Hope this was helpful. I'm going to stop sharing now. Let me know if you have any questions as usual.